we have with us Mr. S. Nand, the Advisor Technical at Fertiliser Association of India, joining in on the show right now. Mr. Nand, good morning. Great to have you today on ET Now. Help us understand what the construct of the fertilizer industry here in India is looking like, both in terms of demand and supply.
Well, as far as production is concerned, this year we are, we have seen growth both in the major products of urea as well as DAP. The demand is also has picked up during the data available from April to October, and the November data is still to come in, but we expect a growth of in urea little 1 to 2%. Similarly, there will be growth of 3% in demand or for DAP. But as far as supply is concerned, we are on track. As I said, production for urea is higher. This year, we might achieve about 31 million tons of urea production. And the demand is likely to somewhere, about 36 million tons. Similarly for DAP, so there will be, and there have been, import of 3.8 million tons so far as far as urea is concerned. So on balance, this is about 1 to 2, about 2 million tons gap, which is, again, we will be filled up by imports. Similarly, there will be 1 or 2 million ton gap for DAP, which again will be filled up for the balance of the year or for the Rabi crop.
Why is the fertilizer demand, which is an indication of crop and growth on agriculture and GDP, is growing at a rate which is half that of GDP growth? I mean, normally it should be in and around the GDP growth, to put a very simple thumb rule.
See, if you see you have to take a data for about 3 years, whenever, or 3 to 5 years, because the data coming for actual consumption, there is always a time lag. What data which we have for the current year, for example, is for sale. Now, the inventory at the farmers level or inventory in the, in the channel, or all these things do matter. And demand for last couple of years has been quite high. And this year demand is reasonable. It's always, we expect about 2% of, growth in demand in terms of nutrients. So that is very reasonable. This, as far as GDP, relationship with GDP is concerned, I don't think there is a direct relationship with any GDP, because it depends on what is the response ratio when you apply a unit of nutrient, and GDP comes from the as well as the yield, as well as the price of the product, final product.
About same time last year or 6 quarters ago, the concern in the world was that Russia had pulled the plug on the entire phosphate supply. That was having an impact on the way how the entire fertilizer sector would move, and especially in the area of phosphates. That led to a sudden price appreciation and government had to kick in. Has that situation normalized according to you?
Well, as far as urea is concerned, we will, as I said, 2 things have happened. 2 positive things have happened. One is that our production has gone up, and we are getting a full year production now from the new plants which were commissioned last year or year before. And the international prices have stabilized, yes. As far as phosphate is concerned, that it still remains a difficult situation because of, as you have rightly mentioned, but China had, had the export restrictions. So that is why after the sort of crash in phosphate prices of DAP, it has still again gone up quite a bit. But as I said, supply situation is fine, but it will have impact on final subsidy.
Right. Morning, and I wanted to get in a sense from you as well as to what the outlook is in terms of the demand for the current Rabi season and whether or not you're anticipating any more subsidies for fertilizers this Rabi season.
As I mentioned that, there will be 1 or 2% increase since last year in the Rabi season. Is always, for when you have the season-wise data, how much is bought sometimes, the last month or so, or the initial period of the next season, which is Rabi season. So that is the supply situation as well as demand are quite normal. There is nothing unusual about it this year compared to what we faced in 2021 or 21-22. But now, as far as as I said, the price concern is there. But there may be some, some increase from the allocations which was made of 1.75 lakh crores. And government has already, making provision for more than 13,000 crores additional fertilizer subsidy. So we should be there only because of the two reasons. Fertilizer subsidy remains little higher. One is the gas price, which is impacting the cost of production of urea. And the other, of course, as I mentioned, the DAP prices have again escalated after, touching the bottom a few months back. But it's not going to be a haywire or anything. There may be only a marginal increase, whatever has been provided and whatever government is already making provision yesterday itself in the parliament.
The government, in a sense, wants to reduce the dependence on urea. Enough and more work has now come from experts which say that long-term usage of urea is something which is having an impact on production, quality of soil, etc., etc. Do you think we could be in for a resistance coming from everywhere now for urea production and urea consumption?
See, urea production, as I said, we'll touch this year 31 million tons. But normally we should expect about 31 to 32 billion tons with the present capacity. Capacity, as you know, has been enhanced. We had 25, 26 million tons earlier. Now it will be about 32 million tons. As far as demand or consumption is concerned, see, the overriding factor is proving to be farmer's price. And you all are aware that farmer is paying about only 20% of the cost of production or imports. It's not that our domestic production is more expensive or imports are cheaper. We always remain very competitive with imports, but the price for the farmer, which is proving to be overriding factor. And that's why we have been saying, as far as industry is concerned, that it should also come under NBS policy, which is applicable for phosphatic and potassic, so that interproduct distortion is not there. Nitrogen, whether it is through NP, NPK with complexes or through DAP or through urea, should cost same to the farmer. And so that will be one. But government has been, of course, making other efforts, and industry also has been making efforts for educating the farmers not to apply nitrogen disproportionately in excess, which is the case right now. When I say in excess, I say the ratio is in highly favor of nitrogen vis-a-vis phosphate and potash. So if it is brought under NBS and the farmers' prices remain adjusted, in right ratio, I'm sure that with the either there will be a reduction in urea demand, the conventional solid urea demand, and without compromising on the yields.
Right, Mr. Nand, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining in today.
Thank you.
Okay.